Now, similar to our friend Eric, I too, Mr. Long, was born and raised as a Dallas Cowboys fan. But despite that fact, I truly cannot tell you how humbling it is to share a stage with someone as generous and remarkable as you are. You have truly touched so many communities and so many people, especially this one, that it means a lot to everyone who is here. To our To our distinguished guest, President Sullivan, families, friends, faculty, and of course, the class of 2018, we thank you guys for being here with us for our valedictory exercises. Now, understanding that I am the only thing standing in the way of you all and your reservations at the delicious restaurants in Charlottesville, I really only want to talk with you all today about two things: family and home. Now, for all of us here at UVA today, we have come to understand this journey as a class of 2018 in very different ways. For some of us, this journey began 4 years ago when you received that acceptance letter in the mail and you hopped onto the UVA Facebook page and you jumped on and you started asking the questions: who's gonna be my roommate? Where am I gonna live? And who is this lost boy, Chris Samuel, who keeps posting pictures with 500 hashtags on it? These were the things that kept us up at night. But nonetheless, for some of us, this journey began after attending another college or university, or even serving in the armed forces, and later deciding to continue your education by coming to the University of Virginia. And for some of us, this journey began when you were born and your parents wrapped you up in orange and blue and taught you how to sing the Good Old Song as your first words. I know that exists for some of you. But despite all of this, no matter where your journey began, we all will go through this weekend with one thing in common, and that is that we will all graduate as the class of 2018 of the University of Virginia. And that one thing alone will unite us and keep us as a family. And because of that, and because of my time here at UVA, I have come to understand that family means so much more than the conventional meaning of the people who have raised you and brought you up in life. And I've come to know that greatest at this school in the way that this community has been there for me in my own hardships. In January of 2012, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And as the strongest person I've come to meet in my life, one of the first things she did was she put a smile on her face and she continued telling us everything's gonna be okay and we're gonna get through this. And so my mom almost immediately went into her first treatment with chemotherapy. And a few months later, she was diagnosed cancer-free. And a few months after that, she went in for a checkup and the cancer was back. So they put her on a new chemotherapy, and a few months later it was gone. And then the following checkup, it was back. So they put her on new chemotherapy and the same result. At this point in time, it was now the fall of 2014, and I was enrolling in the University of Virginia for my first semester. And I was ready to come in because my mom was on her 4th chemotherapy, and this one was finally seeming to work. And it was going to be the one, and we knew in our hearts that would end all. But sure enough, in the spring of 2015, the spring of my first year, the doctors said again that the chemotherapy was not working. And they diagnosed my mom with a rare form of breast cancer called triple negative that is only found in African American women. And to date, it has no cure, and it has no treatment that can slow it down. So the doctors said it could be months, it could be weeks, it could be years, and it could be days. This impacted me beyond words that I can share with you all today. But nonetheless, my mom stayed strong, and she told us to keep doing what we were doing and keep making her proud in everything we did. And so I served that summer here at UVA as an orientation leader with 51 other students, where we welcomed in the class of 2019 happily and hopefully. And despite how close I got with those team members of mine, I still went home every weekend and on all of our off days to spend time with my family and my mom. And on July 11th of 2015, that summer, my mom lost her battle to cancer and passed away. And that is a moment that will stick with me for the rest of my life. But equally to that moment is one that came the following week, when I sat down in my church and I looked up in the pew at the funeral and saw the orientation leaders from UVA that I'd been working with all summer. They had never met my mom, they had never met my family, and their only connection to coming down there was because of how they had gotten to know me. And what I learned in that moment is that although there is a seat that will forever sit empty in my family, it is also joined by 100 filled seats from all of you who I would now equally call my family. Family extends so much further than the blood that flows through your body and the flesh that surrounds you. Family, as I come to see it, is about the people who care for you, the people who support you, the people who love you, and the people who make you feel at home. And this brings me to my second and final point for you all, which is home. As we all have come to know, Charlottesville and the University of Virginia has had a rough few years, and a lot of it started with our time here in 2014. When the Rolling Stone article came out, I remember our class as first years not knowing how to feel about this new home that we were in. But nonetheless, we pushed forward. And from conversations I've had with many of you, we all shared a similar awakening after our very first lighting of the lawn. And Lighting of the Lawn is an event that started in 2001 after the events of 9/11, where the university community came together and gathered and strung up lights on the lawn and the rotunda and had an evening of reflectance and remembrance as a community. That event has carried on ever since, and during my first year, I had the pleasure of serving on that committee. And after the Rolling Stone article came out, we had a last-minute meeting, and we made some changes to that event. And a few days later, it occurred, and it went off without a hitch. And so I went home that night to my dorm in Courtney over by the Scott Stadium, and I saw my resident advisor, Israel Vaughn, who we called Izzy. And so Izzy and I had a very interesting relationship because he loved to heckle me about every single thing I did. And so I went to him, and I was like, hey, Izzy, this is now your third lighting of the lawn. What did you think? And he said, man, it was okay, I guess. And I was like, really? That's the best answer I'm going to get out of you. And he looks me in the eye, and he tells me something that I will never forget. He says, what do you want me to say to you, Malcolm? Do you want me to say that that was the single most inspirational thing I've ever seen in my entire life? Do you want me to say that that was exactly what this community needed to show us that we can be better and give us hope? Do you want me to say that a single tear rolled down my cheek when I saw the rotunda lights come on, because after all these events, I never thought I'd see that again? And do you want me to say that I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of the work that the Lighting of the Lawn Committee has done to remind me why I love this place and why I am happy to call it my home? Because if you want me to say that, I'm never gonna do it. But if I did, it would sound exactly like that. And to this very day, every time I bring up this conversation, Izzy absolutely refuses that it ever happened. But he will follow this up by looking me in the eye and giving me a hug. And we both know that in that moment on that night, we came to two realizations about two truths of the University of Virginia. The first of which is it is impossible to deny that the University of Virginia is far from perfect. It has its flaws, it has its imperfections, and it has its history. But the second truth is that it is equally impossible to deny that the University of Virginia is something special. And that something special is something that every administrator, every member of our faculty, every member of our alumnus, and every single member of this graduating class is constantly working to keep and make better for the class of 2022, the class of 2045, the class of 2118, and every single one of them that follows in our footsteps. And so to the class of 2018, as I conclude to you all today, what I want to say is thank you. Thank you for being the members of this community that have been a family to each other and create a place that we can all call home. Thank you for being the leaders that have taken this university as your own and will happily walk the lawn tomorrow and Sunday, knowing that you are leaving it better than you found it. Thank you for giving me one of the most distinct pleasures that I will hold for the rest of my life of serving as your class president for these past few years. As it pains me to know that we are all about to graduate and go our separate ways around the world and across the country, it gives me hope for the planet to know that you all will be the leaders who are going to change it. As Mr. Long mentioned earlier, it's not about saying you've got it, and it's not even about saying I've got it. For us, it's the fact that we've got it. And I trust that the world is going to be in good hands. So to the class of 2018, no matter how far you go from home, always remember that you will have a family and a home right here in Charlottesville waiting for your return. Congratulations, and wahoo wah.